Let me ask DJ, what does fall rules mean to you? Say again? Possibly. But if we have a gun, obviously there's a couple kinds of gun. If it's most of the gun we're going to see is going to be that kind of gun, where it's already there, with a guy offset one way or the other. So when we're in fall rules, what does that mean? Are the linebackers falling to the back or away from the back? Away from the back. So if we have an offset back this way, which safety's in the fit? The right safety. So if it's offset there, who's in the fit? Left safety. What if the guy's in gun eye? What do we do then? You flow off the tee, right? Or really, which way the line goes. If the line's zoning to a safety, that safety's in the fit. The line goes the other way, you're out of the fit, right? Because they could actually send the tee this way and zone like that, correct? Which safety would be in the fit? The left safety would, right? So it's off of the tee, but really you got to feel where the line goes, with the direction of which way the line goes, correct? Everybody understand that? Okay? So, in Pittsburgh, we know that we're flowing all the time. So if you have gun eye, that in essence becomes the same way your fullback would, or the line does, when he's in the backfield, right? Because he's going to determine where this guy goes, and the type of action is going to determine which safety's in the fit. Okay, we're reading it there. So it's not like you've never done that before. Okay? So we're going to start with the pro set. Let's first talk about alignments. Okay? If I am the will linebacker, corners obviously are going to line up on our number ones. Free safety. We've already identified that this is a pro set. What can happen to you in a pro set? Okay? We're playing cover 4. We all know that. We've identified from outside in. Will's lined up on number 2 on the tight end side. Buck's here. Who's the adjuster to the weak side? Meaning, if they take anybody and break the core with motion or alignment, who's going to adjust to that guy? Okay, anytime that buck walks in Pittsburgh, either by motion or alignment, and that buck walks out of the core, who's now what do we do anytime that happens? What do we go to? Palms. Okay, so we know when he walks. Once that happens, once the buck, when we say palms, can that safety be in the fit anymore? So who's part of the read now? It's one back. It's a one back set. So if the quarterback's under center, who's in the fit? The buck's in the fit. Okay? Any questions about that? So we know that the buck's going to be the adjuster weak, which is going to be the case in basically almost any over defense we got. Okay? Who's going to adjust to the solid side? The will. So what do we do when the will walks? Palms, correct? Any questions about that? So we are going to play cover 4 as long as it's any core set. Any core set, we're going to play cover 4. Anytime one of our linebackers has to walk, cover 4, play becomes palms. Okay? As long, and I'm talking about the quarterback under center right now. We're not talking about hand drills right now. We're talking about just basic adjustments. They line up in a 2-back set. They motion out. They go this way or that way. We're going to get an adjuster from one of our linebackers, and we're always going to end up in palms. Everybody good there? Okay. In Pittsburgh, we're going off the flow of the fullback. So we know that Mike linebacker, do you know what your How are linebackers define a run fits? What did we say the other day? That in any defense, as long as there are two backs in the backfield, we're going to have two of these, two of something, one of something, and one of something else.
One spill and force.
Two levers, one spill, and one force. Do we know who is who right now? Because it's a flow run fit. We really don't, right? So let's talk about it. Let's first talk about solid flow, meaning the fullback's going solid. Okay? Let's first say he goes in there. Who's what here? Let's say we have an inside run. What's a buck? What's that make the buck? Huh? Lever. What's that make the mic? Spill. What's that make the will? Lever. And what's that make the safety? Force. Okay? Now, what if this fullback, we still get solid flow, but now the fullback is going wide? Who changes right there? So what's that make the will now, Zaire?
You still love it when you got to play curves, so you got to be outside.
Right. So in essence, when that guy goes outside, let's take this guy and align him up out here. Say he aligns out there. What in essence are you right now? You really become the force player, right? So that's force. And what do you do? What's the safety doing now? Huh? He's running the alley now. Because when that happens, there is no A gap. So basically the safety is playing that gap, or he's filling where needed now. Okay? What about this safety? What's he got? Is he in the run fit, Charles?
No.
So what is his responsibility on run?
Cutback play.
Cutback meaning what? Really? Because he's a cutback. He's in there. We have all our gaps filled up. What is your responsibility? What do you need to do? Always, when you're tracking the football now, you're out of the run fit. You're
Keep the ball on my inside shoulder.
Inside shoulder all the time. You are never going to get on that side of the ball. You are going to squeeze the ball to all your help, and you're going to keep the ball on your inside shoulder all the time. You don't have to be fast, right? You can be pretty slow. Okay? So that's pretty easy, correct? Now, let's go the other way now. Let's put the fullback here. And he's going flex flow. Who's the lever player? Who's the lever player now? The Mike. What's the free safety got? DJ? Because this guy's playing a 5, so he's out here. What's the buck? First of all, what's the buck? Spill. Does that mean inside arm free or outside arm free, Jared? Spill. So if that fullback's I'm the right buck. So I'm spill. I'm inside arm free. Okay? What's that make the free safety? Lever? There you go. What's the safety? Does he still have the D gap? Who has a D gap now? The will linebacker. So what does that mean? When I get action away and I become the force player and the D gap player, should I be sticking my nose in there? Do I have any responsibility in there whatsoever? So what should the will linebacker do when I see action in this way? Tight end my eyes go right to here. And so who's going to tell you how that force happens. Who are you playing off of now?
Tight end. In the back.
The tight end, but who's going to tell you where your fit's going to happen? The end. So if that end wins inside like he should, where's your force going to be? Outside. If that tackle cuts that end off, where's your fit going to be? Inside. Okay? Shouldn't happen much if our ends are doing their job. And our 3 technique's going to play that B gap. And our nose is going to play his 2-eye. We're going to play a heavy 5 over here. Okay? So when that happens, I get action this way. And I'm the will linebacker playing force. What should I do? How does my progression work? I'm sitting there and I see action go away. What do I do from that point? There you go. It's as simple as that. Do I have any other responsibility besides that tight end and that gap? None. So I shouldn't be stepping here. If anything, if I'm aligned here in this gap, I get action here, I should actually be stepping out. But I transfer my eyes right to my tight end, because if they run boot and I step in there, can I play it? No. Okay? So therefore, knowing that, why do we do flex side rotation? What would be different? Let me ask you this, Curry. In Pittsburgh, are we running a heavy or are we playing a 3? Huh? Do we need to be in a heavy? What's the difference between, we're always going to play a fairly heavy 3. But when we say heavy, why would we make that guy heavy? Like, let's say we're in Tampa, and they do the same thing, and they run action this way, full flow that way. The buck now becomes a what player? If we're in Tampa. And where's a Mike got to get? So he got to get over to that B. So who's got to play that A gap? So Curry, let me ask you that. Is that easy to do for that will linebacker to get to that A gap? So what do we tell you to do in a heavy if they're doing that? And really do what? Take that guy's body and do what with it? Put it in the A gap so he can sit out here and play his coverage. Okay, but I just said that if we're in Pittsburgh and they get action here, who's playing that A gap now? Because we're using this safety, the free safety's there and the buck's there. So do we have to play a heavy 3? We don't have to be quite as heavy, do we? Because now our Mike is staying home in his A gap and the will linebacker's staying out here. So we don't have as much of a run-pass conflict. We don't have to heavy up our 3 technique as much. You're still going to play fairly, you're still going to play tight 3 like we always do. But in Tampa, you damn sure better crush that gap. It's not quite as important. You can play a little bit looser in Pittsburgh because I have an A-gap presence with my Mike linebacker now. Okay? Important that you understand that. Okay? Any questions about that? Any questions about those run fits so far? Okay, I'm going to spend some time on this now. What else can happen in Pittsburgh? We're already in cover 4. When I say you got to identify from outside in, what other things can happen? Okay, we're going to be basically in cover 4 with our corner. You got that guy, right? We can play press. We can definitely play press over here if I'm this right corner, right? When we do that, do you know where is your help going to come from if I am a corner? Pretty much. If there's no one else over on this side, and I'm a flex side corner, am I going to have inside help from my safety? So how am I going to play if I'm a flex side corner? How am I going to adjust my alignment a hair? Where? Outside eye. Because pretty much I know if I don't see anybody else over in this area, I'm going to have my free safety available to me. So I damn sure don't want to line up inside and play one-on-one fades all day. If I get a fade route, I should eat it up, because I know that any kind of inside release, I'm going to have help and I can climb. But I definitely don't want to have to play the one-on-one fade when I don't have to. And you should never have to, as long as you have a flex side on your side. There's no threat for my free safety, so he's available to you. Not necessarily the case here, right? Because there's a chance this safety could get eaten up by the tight end. So therefore, we play off a little bit more. We start you a little bit more inside. But if I'm going to press, I'm going to be thinking more head up than I am on this side. Plus, that's a harder fade throw than this throw, correct? So I'm going to play a little bit more head up, because I might lose my safety over on the solid side. Okay? We just talked about flows. So we talked about the other day that you always have an initial key and then where you transfer your eyes to. Okay? So let's talk about the flows. Let's first talk about across the board, what are our initial keys? Corners, obviously your keys are the guy you're covering. Okay? But if I am a safety, our safeties, where are my keys? Huh? What is your initial key in this defense? And I can say this will be the same thing for 5 of our guys. Who is our initial key that we are initially going to have to see? Huh? Fullback is our initial key. So for the linebackers and safeties in a 2-back set, my initial key is a fullback. Okay? That's pretty simple, right? Okay, now, if we get solid side action, what is our secondary key? Tight end? What about the will linebacker? Huh?
Depends on where the back goes.
I can say this. It doesn't make a shit what that back does. When that fullback goes this way, where should my eyes transition to? Tight end. Buck. Free safety. There you go. And you go to number 1. It's pretty simple. Okay? Now, below that, so we know if it's solid, everybody's going to the tight end with the exception of the free safety who transfers his eyes out to the X. Now, what's different? What's a little, it doesn't matter, I can say this, it doesn't matter whether it's an inside path or outside path by the fullback. It doesn't really make a difference. I still got to take a peek at that guy. Okay? But I will say this. If I am a linebacker, that the fullback, like what can we do in a one-back set? In a one-back set, it's easy. And during a gun, the direction and the path of that tailback determines my initial steps. Okay? In a 2-back set, the width of the fullback determines my initial steps. Okay? So if he's going wide, I don't want to have any part of stepping up in my gap. So what I should be doing is mirroring him with his width. So I'd be working for width. Everyone's working for width and holding their depth. But at the same time, they're transferring their eyes to that tight end. Because at that point, that guy's going to tell you a lot quicker. The quickest way is, because if they're running play action pass and you guys are going to be needed, that guy's going to be releasing. And if he's blocking, it's run. As far as you guys are concerned. There's always going to be a little exception to that, but that's, at the end of the day, that's what you want to be thinking. Okay? So, everyone's going to there. Now we go this way. Okay? My fullback key. And he goes there. What do I do now? What is my secondary key if I'm the buck? Huh? Basically what? Track him. The fullback stays your key. Okay? What about the Mike linebacker? You're going to feel the line, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying it's full action this way. And hold your depth, right? Play your A gap, hold your depth. You can still. What about the will linebacker? Tight end. So it's pretty easy when you get action this way, correct? What about the strong safety? Full action this way. What's the safety's attention go to? Tight end? Right, you got to see if he's releasing, correct? Okay, then to where? Possibly number one if he isn't affecting you, because you're not in the run fit. What about the free safety? Huh? You got to clear the run. What's going to tell you? How are you going to feel run or pass if I'm the free safety at that point and I get action coming my way? What's going to be really a good way of feel? What's going to tell you run or pass at that point? Huh? The line. Okay? In which case, there's two things that are going to happen. If you're getting an inside path and they're going to block, let's say it's a run, what are they going to do? This guy's going to be pretty heavy on that 2-eye, right? And he's going to be firing off, and he's going to be blocking there. Even if they zone lead, that guy's going to be working here, and they're going to be trying to overtake that nose. So when I see action coming this way, before I just go flying up there, what do I want to feel? Who's going to tell me run or pass? How about these guys? So fullback to the line. Because if they're soft, I'm not coming down in there. They're hard in there, I'm starting to inch and starting ready to come and run. So you better be able to feel the line, because you don't have a tight end on your side. We good there? Everybody understand that? So it's pretty easy. If I hear it's Pittsburgh, if I'm this guy, if they go solid, everyone's eyes ought to be transferred right to the tight end. That should always happen. We had to have that guy, because that guy is the number one threat. Okay? Besides these wideouts, when these backs are in the backfield, that guy's the number one threat. So I am going to go right to there. So if I'm the will linebacker, I'm the strong safety, it doesn't make a shit what the flow is. I had to know every time I'm going there to there. Every single time. Every single play. I'm going there to there. Any solid side rotation, you already know in your head. You already know where I take my eyes, where I take my attention, and that gives you a chance to write for the rest of the play. It ought to be in your head. Every single time you watch film, and I call Pittsburgh in my head. I'm going there to there, there to there. Because I totally understand what my responsibility is.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Would that change if we clustered it, like the Z was tight? Would our progression change? No?
Not really.
Okay.
The only difference is, and what I was going to talk about cluster right now. Okay? We said you have to identify things from outside in. Okay, let me ask you this first. Let's continue with alignments. Let's talk with the pro set. Buck, Mike, Will. Okay? If the fullback gets offset that way, what am I going to do with my, who's the only person that really needs to widen? Huh? The will linebacker. So, my initial alignment, where does Coach Ellis normally have you align? Basically in that C gap, right? So if he offsets, I go to where? I don't want to get out leveraged. So I go from my C gap alignment where I normally am. He widens, so now I align stacked on my end. If I'm the Mike, do I need to leave my A gap? If I'm the Buck, do I leave my B gap? No. Okay? So let's now take them to there. What do I do now if I'm the will linebacker? Widen. I'm the Mike, do I move out there at all?
I would just coverage, but I mean,
Maybe you hear, but if that guy's doing his job, you don't have to get out there real fast. The only key is this, Trevor, is if they run the ball here, you can get as wide as you want, but you got to make sure if they run belly flex and they run a scoop, that you got to get it. You have to dig that A gap out. So you better not move too far, because that's the first thing you got to be able to do. You got a safety who's running that gap. Okay? Any questions about that? Once it goes to there, if it goes out there and the will linebacker adjusts out and we play what, Charles? If we go to Palms, do we have to, is that any different than that as far as our alignments are concerned? The only difference is what's the difference between the will, what's the will got to do now? Right, but what else? So are you going to line up outside of that guy? Where do you align? Split the difference. There you go. Okay? It's all pretty easy, right? Okay, now let's go take him, put the will back in his C gap, the Mike back in the A gap, and let's put the full back to a far eye. He moved over here. What am I going to do if I'm the will linebacker? Huh? Where does my alignment change now? Huh? Which way? What did I tell you? If the fullback went this way, what's your responsibility? So why would you move away from your coverage? If that guy goes away from you or goes that way, what should you do? Go which way? To the left. Remember, just because that guy's over there, if he's over there, I move over. It's already declared for me. I know where I'm going. So I move to my responsibility. Align to handle your responsibility. If I'm the Mike, I'm going to do what? Tuck in my A gap, right? If I'm the Buck, you're going to be where are you going to line? Inside or outside that fullback? Why would you line outside of him? If he goes, if you do, let's talk about that. If he goes flat, how do you want to play that guy? From inside eye or outside eye? Inside eye, right? Plus, if he runs a lead on you, what do you want to do? Spill it to the safety. So therefore, where do I want to align? Inside the fullback. Okay? So your coverage and your run responsibility tells you to line up in there. Okay, and if I'm the free safety, I'm just keying my fullback. I know I'm in, right? Okay. Should be pretty easy, right? Everybody understand all that? Think about how much we struggled with that through the spring. Just for the sheer fact of I can just say just a number of times, we would get action that way, and you know what this linebacker would do? He would do that. This is something you got to understand what your responsibilities are according to where the flow is. Now let's go to a one back. We already talked about pair trips. What if they align in ace? Okay? If they align in ace, first of all, how's that end going to line up? Is he going to be in a 2-eye or how are you going to line up right there, Walker? A 6. Is there ever a time in our defense, in our zone defenses, that there's a tight end there that you will not be in a 6? Huh? Really? Yeah, just under, right? So we put the tight end there. So now how does that change? Who's in the run fit now? Who? Free safety is, right? Boom. So where am I going to line if I'm the Buck? Inside my tight end. So basically, what? Stack my 6. Correct? It's pretty easy. So what's gap Does the free safety have to? What gap is the free safety playing right here?
Outside.
Outside where? Right there, right? So what gap does that give the buck? B gap. Are you just gonna, if they run this way, are you just gonna run to your B gap? What are they gonna do? Let's talk about this. If they run this way, what are they gonna do? How are they gonna block it? They're gonna do that, right? And at some point, one of those two guys are going to come off to come get you. Okay? So if it's this guy, he stays in here. Does that really make... So I want to hold my depth, and I want to hold my relationship on that 6 technique as long as I possibly can, until it starts to declare. Once it declares, I'm good. He goes there, and it declares, I set it, I draw it, I help that guy, and then I can always fall back into my B gap. What I don't want to do is make a decision right now, because then it makes it easy for them, and it makes it an easy play for that running back to make that play. I want to hold that relationship as long as I possibly can, and by that time, usually the ball is going to declare. So I don't want to go until I know. I want to hold that. So where my attention is that whole time, if I'm that buck linebacker, is I'm watching what's happening right here. So what's going to happen? Let me take you through this, Bucks. And this is important because everybody should be seeing the same thing. The free safety, the buck, anybody over here. So if it goes this way and these guys are blocking him, and let's say this guy climbs, what would the 6 technique do at that point, Walker?
Get into the C gap.
Huh? Well, you're already in the C gap. Let's say that guy starts to push on you and he climbs right away. He touches you and climbs. What are you going to do? What is that 6 technique taught to do at that point? Snap in, right? So do you have if that happens, and that happens really quick, does that buck linebacker have a B gap anymore? What did that do? When that guy climbed, what happened to that B gap? Is there a B gap anymore? No, not if he snaps in, right? So where can I, at that point, expect the ball to come, Buck? I'm going to hit him, and I'm going to expect that ball to come outside. And if I see that, what could happen there is that guy snaps in, right, free safety? And this guy chases a buck and maybe widens him a little bit, so I got to be ready to fill where needed right there. It might be outside, but it might be inside. So if I see what's happening with that block, that's going to tell me a lot of things of what's happening over there. Okay? Now I'm stacked here. I'm still a B-gap player, right, Buck? And they run the ball away. Now how are they going to block it? This guy's going to block the 6, right? He's playing that gap. If that guy climbs right now, what do I want to do if I'm the buck? Is there really a B gap anymore? Why? Because as that guy closes, so if I'm looking at this block and I am eyeing what's happening here and I see that end wind, as I step right here, I want to set that tackle because where can I expect that ball to come now if it cuts back? Here. But if they do this, if that action goes here, once again, my attention, I know where my attention goes. I'm looking at this block. And now the tackle sets on that end. What did they just do? They made it almost impossible for that end to get where? Into the B. So what do I got to do? As I'm going there, I got to be ready to snap in there myself. So if I'm looking back here and I'm looking at where the ball is, I saw where the flow is, but I go flow to my tight end. And if I'm watching that, that's telling me where I need to be to make a play. If I'm looking back at the ball, do I have any chance of accomplishing that? 0. You might luck out and fall into a play, but what's happening here with your keys is telling you all you need to know to have success within the defense. It's really no different here. If I'm the free safety, I get action here. I look at my tight end, whether it's flow to or flow away. These blocks here are telling me where I need to fill and how those blocks are coming off. If this guy gets scooped or he's hard inside and you start seeing that, I know the ball has to go there. There's no room inside. Right? But if I'm looking back there, what's going to happen is I'm going to get surprised by the ball. It's going to show up in my face. Something's going to happen before I'm even ready for it. You can anticipate where the ball is going to go if your eyes are transferring to the right thing. So when it's ace, regardless of where the flow goes, I know I go from flow to my tight end. I go from flow to my tight end every single time. Once again, we're still an ace. We know it's a one-back set. Our initial keys are what? Linebackers and safeties. The T, right? He's telling me, is he a wide path? I'm going to stay wide. If he's a downhill path, I'm holding, just inching out. I'm still not stepping up. But regardless of what the flow is, if I'm the Mike linebacker, where am I transferring my eyes? To which side? To which side the back goes. Every time, all the time. If I'm the Buck linebacker or Will linebacker, regardless of where the flow is, what am I doing right there? The tight end to your side. Same with the safety, same with the safety. Every single time. Back to there's my threat, there's my threat. For the safety, same thing. Back to threat, back to threat. We all have the same threats. Number twos for both these guys. That's every time, all the time. You got to know that before the ball's even snapped. I'm going to go flow to the tight end just because of where I aligned. Okay? Everybody on the same page there? Once again, we're still in a pro sets or forms of pro sets. What else can happen to us here? What else things can happen to us in Pittsburgh? We can get a couple calls. What does it mean when we get a cluster call? I'm going to write it up here. What is a cluster call? Huh? When do we make a cluster call? Huh? When G's tight. Why do we? So here he's in a normal split. If we put him in tight or motion him in tight, why do we make that cluster call? What's the purpose behind it, Stanley? Do you know? What are we expecting to happen when we get a cluster call? Huh? Possibly a drive route. But what's going to happen? They're going to do what? What are we expecting to happen when we make a cluster call? We're expecting a couple things to happen. The reason for a cluster is we're expecting, let's put this guy in an offset back, because that's what most people like to run the cluster out of, is like a near eye set. Okay? We're expecting somebody to go hard to the flat fast. We're expecting somebody to go vertical and the Z to go under here or here. So he could sit down. There's a lot of different things he can do. But as a base rule, the reason why we're clustering it is if they do run two upfield routes, what kind of routes are we expecting? They're on top of each other. So if we didn't cluster them and they did run a normal route, what are we afraid of? What's going to happen a lot of the times? You're going to get picked, or somebody's going to get picked. Or if they ran which people like to run scissors out of that, right? Is that easy to play out of scissors if we're just regular cover four? Who's going to get picked there, Coop? The safety is. Okay? essence, when we say cluster, as far as the safety and corner, the mic, and the linebacker to that side, we're saying first thing in your mind is we are zoning off. We're playing a zone. So I'm playing the inside quarter. I'm playing the outside quarter. I'm playing first to the flat, and I'm playing first inside. Okay? That's our first thought. Okay? What tells us, once that happens, and we make a cluster call, what tells us from there how to play our technique? What do we have to do? Who tells us what to do from there? Give me one of the safeties. Stanley, or Harvey. What do we have to see from there? Who tells us how to play from that point? Well, no, we know the tight end. Let's say we know the tight end's releasing. What do we have to transfer our eyes to? Who tells us we're going to play a quarter technique and a quarter technique until what happens? And who's that going to be? The outside guy. So if he goes under right now, what's that tell me to do if I'm the safety? And do what? Inside and do what? Do I want you to get any more depth at that point? No. So we get a guy break, so we're zoning until we get the Z eliminating himself by the route he runs. We sit inside. What does that tell the mic? So that's it. So I'm not getting any more depth. What does it tell the mic, Roach?
That's my
Huh? Maybe. It might be. It might not be. Well, what's the first thing it tells you? Do what? Don't get any more what?
Oh, don't get.
Is there any reason, if he's sitting and we're getting one vertical route, do you got to get any more depth? That means you sit short. The mic sit short. That's the terminology I want you to understand. You see the Z eliminate, I sit short. What about the Will? What's he looking at? He's just got to make sure what happens.
Out. You see it out.
First thing to the flat. Do you have to get depth on that, or can you jump that right now? You can jump it right now. Boom. You're the outside part of the cluster. That's easy ball. You got first thing to the flat. You can get up, and you can be real aggressive on it. You don't have to get any depth, and you don't want to get any depth because you don't want to get picked. Right? Okay. So if they line up and we say alert cluster, 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 and this guy doesn't eliminate, we just play cover 4 from that standpoint. I go here, I'm here, corner's here, and we play ball. Okay? Doesn't change the will much, but you got to go cover 4. What else is a Mike linebacker? What else do we need to know? When the Z's going underneath, what do you got to see when it's a 2-back set and we are in a cluster call? What is imperative that you know?
See both backs. Let one go.
To know what?
If I can let one go or not.
There you go. You got to know, is it full flow or split flow? Okay? So, let's say we've already said alert cluster, and we're in Pittsburgh. This is also always the case. Let's say we say alert cluster, disease in short. We go to a zone attitude here. And we get this and that. Hard play action. Okay? And we start getting that, and that guy comes underneath. So what goes along with cluster? What does that become like? Can this corner from a zone attitude with that happening, can he drive that? Pretty hard to do. So what does that become? Just like deuce. Anytime we make a cluster call, it also means there's a possibility if the action goes the other way that it turns into deuce because it's still a zone attitude. Once we make that alert, as far as the safety and corner are concerned, we're playing. We're zoning it off. We don't have to chase anything from that point. Okay? It's a zone attitude for us. The imperative thing is for the linebackers to read the flow. Okay? What else can happen over there? What else can happen in this call? We said a possibility of a cluster call. Anything else happen? What if this guy's in tight? Look at free safety. We could make a cut call, right? Can you make a cut call in an I formation in this call? Why not, Harvey? Because you could be in the fit. What if it was there? What if that guy was there? Now you can make the cut call because you're not in the fit anymore. So if you understand your responsibility, you know that if I'm in the run fit, I can't cut it. If the fullback's over there, I can make a cut call. We good there? Okay. Okay, that takes you through just about everything. Okay, as far as pro sets. Anybody have any questions about that? Run fits. Transfer our eyes. What are our keys? What are our initial keys? What are our secondary keys? Where do we transfer our eyes? Most of that, think about what we just went through, guys, and that most of that can already be determined before anything ever happens. I already know in my head, if I'm a will linebacker, if I'm a safety, if I'm the buck for that matter, pretty much, I know by flow, where do I go? Where do I transfer my eyes? So when they're lined up and I see an I formation, I'm already thinking about that in my head. He goes there, boom, I'm going there. He goes there, I'm staying with him. You already know. But to do that, you got to be focused. You got to be thinking the game. You got to already have done that preparation before you ever walked out on that field. And trust me, when you get to that point, you understand, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and this is where my eye is going to go. The game will slow down for you, big time. Okay, let's talk about this. Because we already talked about the fact that they could line up like this with the Y here, and the quarterback here, the Z there, the fullback out there. We could be in palms. Okay? Let's say that would be, actually in that case, that would be the buck. It'd be a solid right call. What does palms mean to us? How do I play palms if I'm a walked guy? Somebody take me through that. When you're in palms, are you in the run fit? Yes. And most of the time you're going to be. Okay? So if you're in palms, what's the first thing you have to see? Huh? Well, you already know where 2 is because you've aligned out there. And you're splitting the difference. What's the first thing? So this, in essence, is like your tight end if I'm the outside linebacker or if I'm the nickel. What's the first thing I got to see? Is which way what? Which way the back goes. He's going to go one way or the other. Regardless. So when I see that back, if he's in a downhill path, what am I going to, I'm going to do what? I'm going to be, now if he threatens my gap, I got to make sure that I step and mirror to that gap, and I'm ready to get in there and make that play in that B gap. Because all I got to do is beat that block, and as long as I beat that block, no, I'm unblockable. They don't have a block for me. Okay, that's how it's set up. The only guy that can block you is that guy, unless they pull somebody. Okay? So I am going to mirror him, and I'm going to mirror his steps, and I'm going to step into my gap. I'm not running into my gap, but I'm stepping towards my gap and up, because I always going to have my inside foot up and my outside foot back, so I can see what's happening with the back, and I have my shoulders turned towards number 2. So if the ball's in there, I'm always going to be in this kind of alignment. That allows me to see more. I can see inside, I can feel my number 2. I'm never going to turn my butt to him, and I'm never going to be in a square position. I'm always going to be set with my inside foot up. So if I get a downhill back threatening my gap, I'm going to step into my gap. 2 quick steps. Then I'm going to read it from there. Because I don't, still at that point, I don't know if it's run or pass, right? That's easy. If action goes away, same thing, downhill path. Where do I transfer my eyes to right there then? Not necessarily, not yet. It's a downhill path, so I got to clear the run first, right? What am I going to do? Like, who tells me? Because most of the time, whether it's a spike or a shade over there, and in this case there would be a shade, what do I have to see? What tells me whether or not I got to get into that B gap? The end, but most importantly, what does this tackle do? So if the tackle climbs, number one, what does that tell me?